Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanajari Yamunatira Vanajari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada ki, Antara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to simple devotees, all glories to simple devotees, all glories to simple devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ye Surantidham Pirsha Ye Suyantradham Versha Hingsa Mana Vivarjita Himsa Mana Vivarjita Natesham Satyashilanam Ashisho Vipalakrita Yesu Yantra Dhambirsha Himsamana Vivarjita Natesham Satyashilanam Ashisha Vipalakrita Yesu Yantritadhambirsha Hingsamana Vivarjita Natesham Satyashilanam Ashisho Vipalakrita. Tibalakamādaya samragya jorupakritai jalai pavitro shadhidhir abhishya dvijottamai vachititva swastyayanam nandagopa samahita utvachadgim dvitabhya Prada Anam Mahagunam. Word for word translation. Yea, those brahmanas who Asuya, envy, Anrita, untruthfulness, Dhamma, false pride, Irsha, grudges, Hingsa, being disturbed by the opulence of others. Mana, false prestige. Vivarjita, completely devoid of. Na, not. Tesham, of such brahmanas. Satyashilanam, who are endowed with perfect Brahminical qualifications. Satya, Samadhamma, etc. Ashishaha, the blessings. Vipala, useless. Krita, have become. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: when Brahmins are free from envy, untruthfulness, unnecessary pride, grudges, disturbance by the opulence of others, and false prestige, their blessings never go in vain. Considering this, Nanda Maharaj soberly took Krishna on his lap and invited such truthful Brahmins to perform a ritualistic ceremony according to the holy hymns of the Samaveda, Rigveda, and Yajurveda. Then, while the hymns were being chanted, he bathed the child with water mixed with pure herbs, and after performing a fire ceremony, he sumptuously fed all the Brahmins with first-class grains and other food. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Tadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamstra Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitānaṁ pāvanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The purport is quite long, so I thought we might take it step by step. I might need a little water also, my voice is a little dry. Purport. Nanda Maharaj was very confident about the qualifications of the Brahmins and their blessings. He was fully confident that simply if the good Brahmins showered their blessings, the child Krishna would be happy. The blessings of qualified Brahmins can bring happiness not only to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but to everyone. Because Krishna is self-sufficient, he does not require anyone's blessings. Yet Nanda Maharaj thought that Krishna required the blessings of the Brahmins. What then is to be said of others? In human society, therefore, there must be an ideal class of men, Brahmanas, who can bestow blessings upon others, namely upon the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, so that everyone will be happy. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita 4.13 that human society must have 4 social orders, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagasha. It is not that everyone should become a Shudra or a Vaishya and human society will prosper. As enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, there must be a class of Brahmins with qualities like Satya, truthfulness, Shama, peacefulness, Dhamma, self-control, and Tiksha, tolerance. Here also in the Bhagavatam, Nanda Maharaj invites qualified Brahmanas. There may be caste Brahmins, and we have all respect for them, but their birth in Brahmin families does not mean that they are qualified to bestow blessings upon the other members of human society. This is the verdict of the Shastras. In Kali Yuga, caste Brahmins are accepted as Brahmins. Vipartve sutram evahi. In Kali Yuga, simply by putting on a thread worth 2 pice, one becomes a Brahmin. Such Brahmanas were not called for by Nanda Maharaj. As stated by Narada Muni, yasya la lakshanam proktam. The symptoms of a Brahmin are stated in the Shastra, and one must be qualified with these symptoms. The blessings of Brahmins who are not envious, disturbed, or puffed up with pride and false prestige, and who are fully qualified with truthfulness, will be useful. Therefore, a class of men must be trained as Brahmins from the very beginning. Brahmachari gurukule vasandanto gurur hitam. The word danta is very important. Danta refers to one who is not envious, disturbing, or puffed up with false prestige. With the Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to introduce such Brahmins in society. Brahmanas must ultimately be Vaishnavas, and if one is a Vaishnav, he has already acquired the qualifications of a Brahmana. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, 1854, Bhagavad Gita. The word Brahma Bhuta refers to becoming a Brahman, or understanding what is Brahman. Brahma Janati Brahmana. One who is Brahma Bhuta is always happy, Prasanna Atma. Nashochati Nakangshati, he is never disturbed about material necessities. Samasarveshu Bhuteshu, he is ready to bestow blessings upon everyone equally. Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, then he becomes a Vaishnava. In this age, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced a sacred thread ceremony for his Vaishnava disciples, with the idea that people should understand that when one becomes a Vaishnava, he has already acquired the qualifications of a Brahmana. Therefore, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, those who are twice initiated so as to become Brahmanas must bear in mind their great responsibility to be truthful, control the mind and senses, be tolerant, and so on. Then their life will be successful. It was such Brahmins that Nanda Maharaj invited to chant the Vedic hymns, not ordinary Brahmins. Verse 13 distinctly mentions hingsa mana. The word man refers to false prestige or false pride. Those who are falsely proud, thinking that they were Brahmins because they were born in Brahmin families, were never invited by Nanda Maharaj on such occasions. Verse 14 mentions pavitro shadhi. In any ritualistic ceremony, many herbs and leaves were required. These were known as pavitra patra. Sometimes they were nimba leaves, sometimes bale leaves, mango leaves, ashwata leaves, or amalaki leaves. Similarly, there were panchagovya, panchashasya, and pancharatna. Although Nanda Maharaj belonged to the Vaishya community, everything was known to him. The most important word in these verses is Mahagunam, indicating that such Brahmins were offered very palatable food of exalted quality. Such palatable dishes were generally prepared with two things, namely food grains and milk products. Bhagavad Gita therefore enjoins that human society must give protection to the cows and encourage agriculture. Kshigoraksha vanijam, Vaishyakarma svabhavajam. Simply by expert cooking, hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes can be prepared from agriculture, produce, and milk products. This is indicated here by the words Annam Mahagunam. Still, today in India, from these two things, namely food grains and milk, hundreds of thousands of preparations of food are prepared, and then they are offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Chaturvidha Sri Bhagavat Prasada. Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. Then the prasad is distributed. Even today in Jagannath Kshetra and other big temples, very palatable dishes are offered to the deity, and prasad is distributed profusely, cooked by first-class Brahmins with expert knowledge and then distributed to the public. This prasad is also a blessing from the Brahmins or Vaishnavas. There are four kinds of prasad, chaturvita: salty, sweet, sour, and pungent tastes are made with different types of spices, and the food is prepared in four divisions called charvya, chushya, lehya, and pehya. Prasad that is chewed, prasad that is licked, prasad tasted with the tongue, and prasad that is drunk. Thus there are many varieties of prasad, prepared very nicely with grain and ghee, offered to the deity and distributed to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and then to the general public. This is the way of human society. Killing the cows and spoiling the land will not solve the problem of food. This is not civilization. Uncivilized men living in the jungle and being unqualified to produce food by agriculture and cow protection may eat animals. But a perfect human society advanced in knowledge must learn how to produce first-class food simply by agriculture and protection of cows. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharini Nirvishesha Chinivari Paschat. So a very sobering kind of conclusion here to the purport, and Prabhupada takes the opportunity, although he's drawing this from, yes, text 13, Hingsamana, and the final point, said the most important word in these verses is Mahagunam. That comes at the end of text 15. So the Vedas prescribe how, Bhagavad Gita says, how human beings can live happily in this world and at the end achieve liberation. That is the principle of sacrifice. Krishna says that Yagnartam kamanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. That work has to be performed as a sacrifice to Vishnu. The one who acts in this way is never contaminated by reactions to work. So everyone has to do some work. That is the nature of this material world. Sometimes it's mentioned by the sweat of one's brow. A mystical poet, Khalil Gibran, who wrote The Prophet, he writes that on work, on the section work, he said one should not give up work because that creates a disturbance in the natural flow, the natural pattern that the Lord has created this world. That everyone is working. So a spiritualist must also work, not that he gives up work. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita is the scientific study of work, how to work in such a way, sometimes described as taking out a thorn with another thorn. The problem in this material world is that we're all working, but in an unregulated way, in a way that is entrapping us more and more. The human energy, by nature, the soul is active. He needs to do some activity. But when he's not properly guided, then he acts in a way which is actually contrary to his own benefit. It's described as suicide. By killing oneself, not just taking one's life, but by working in a way that does not afford self-realization. It's described that one who doesn't take advantage of this human life offered by the facilities of material nature and by the instructions of the spiritual master and the favorable breezes of the Vedic injunctions, he's considered as one who's killing himself. He's lost his opportunity. So the human life, even any human life, is that very rare and special opportunity to actually uncover the soul. Atma Tattva, the truth of the soul, the truth of who we are, that deep within us, actually, the spiritual kingdom is there, the Supreme Lord is there. It's said in the Bible, the kingdom of God is within you. Krishna says, I'm situated in every atom. Krishna is all pervading. So actually within us, everything is there, but the process of self-realization means to uncover. Sometimes in the Bhagavad Gita we show the changing bodies picture. There's a really good one in Science of Self-Realization. The guy is unzipping his body. Right? We unzip our clothes. He's unzipping the material body, and the artist is depicting, actually, see, look, he's the soul, he's not the body. So the real work that is to be done is only the work for self-realization. People are working madly for money, or to simply get a nice place to lie down and sleep and eat. But Prabhupada's point was that by your karma, you're already destined to get those necessities, whether it's good or bad. Better you take all of your human energy and simply engage it for the sake of spiritual realization. And we also follow the direct system. There's the direct and indirect way of receiving life's necessities. The devotees of the Lord, they directly receive from Krishna, from Krishna's loving hand. Krishna is very eager to see all living entities come back to him. This is his inner desire. And that is broadcast and revealed to us through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he instructs in the 9th chapter of the Adi Lila that I order everyone within this universe to accept this Krishna conscious movement and spread it widely. So the Lord wants to see all creatures, all living entities come back to him. That's his will. So our function is to attune our will to the Lord's will. That is pure devotional service. Let not my will but thy will be done. This is another way of explaining the process of bhakti. Surrender. This is Krishna's instruction. Surrender unto me. Whatever desires and things we think we need and want, Krishna says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Masuchaha. Don't fear. In material life we're thinking, but if I surrender to Krishna, then, and we fill in the blank. What about this? Or what about that? I think I need this. I think I want that. These are like the foolish requests of a small child whose parents want to give him, some incredible treasure, and he's saying, but what about this? But what about my race car, or my little something very insignificant? We hear Dhruva Maharaj says, I was seeking a piece of broken glass. So we have our desires for something. We don't understand how satisfied, how unlimitedly satisfied the soul will be if he simply gets Krishna. This is the problem of our lack of faith. That's what it comes down to. Ashradadhana purusha dharmasya parantapo. Those who are lacking faith, they cannot achieve devotion unto me. So our faith is not so strong that yes, just by getting Krishna, I'll get everything. You get so much more than I could have ever imagined. So we have to culture that faith. That's the definition of faith. Shraddha Shabde Vishvaha Kahe Sudrida Nischaya. Faith is the firm conviction. Simply by executing devotional service unto Krishna, all subsidiary things are achieved. So we're thinking, yeah, I can worship Krishna and serve Krishna. That's good, but there's a lot of other things out there. Things I need. Things that will make me happy. And that is our unfortunate consciousness or contemplation. But yes, within us actually, Krishna is already seated within the heart. So our process is to uncover that. And the Vedas prescribe how one can do that. There's different ways. Krishna is very accommodating based on our different natures. Arjuna asked Krishna in the 12th chapter, who are considered to be more perfect? Those who are absorbed in the impersonal feature. They are totally intent upon understanding your unmanifest nature. Arjuna says, which are considered to be more perfect? Those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifest? Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshiping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. But those who fully worship the unmanifest, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifest, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So Krishna allows, okay, you really want to go for the impersonal feature? You can do it. If you're really so intent upon trying to store up some material happiness, okay, you can take the path of karma yoga or jnana yoga. Or you really like to meditate. Sometimes you meet some people, they just want to really meditate and do their yogic process. Even if they hear about bhakti, they're fixed on that. Krishna says, okay, you can do your yoga. But the ultimate end, yogi namapi sarvisham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam samayuktatamo mata. The conclusion of all these systems is devotion or bhakti. Transcendental loving reciprocation with the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada has translated bhakti as devotional service. But I don't know about you, but in the West, the word service, the connotation is very kind of taxing. It makes us a little uncomfortable. Sir, I have to serve. It's very obligatory. It's very... it doesn't paint a bright picture in the minds of most people and tell them, yeah, hey, guess what? You can come to our temple and you can serve. You can become a servant. Sounds good, right? You guys want to come? You guys have done a lot of things in your life. Have you ever been a servant? They're not so interested. So Prabhupada has translated that devotional service to impress upon us this is the essence. But real bhakti means it's not a forced affair. It's not that I have to give up my independence and free will. Real bhakti is a loving service, loving it's really also, bhakti means love. When you love someone, you don't think about it in terms of service. I love this person. You wouldn't say, I'm just serving this person. No, it's performed very naturally. So bhakti is when one naturally they want to serve. They've understood Krishna's position. And the natural result, Krishna explains in the beginning of this 10th chapter, I believe. Could be the 7th chapter. Prabhupada writes that actually when one is fully aware of the opulences of the Supreme Lord, one naturally becomes a surrendered soul. When we actually understand Krishna's position, then all we want to do is serve Him. We wouldn't want to do anything else. Because everything is an energy of Krishna. Everything is manifestation of His potency, His energy. So what else can you do? You can't find anything that's not connected to Krishna. And again, the superior path is the direct process, not an indirect. All of the other systems of yoga, they're indirect. It's going to bring us to bhakti. So therefore, to become very fixed in the conception of Bhagavan. Bhagavan means he who possesses all the opulences in the fullness. This is a point we hear again and again, that Bhagavan means he has fullness of everything. Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashashriya jnana vairagyayoschaiva sanam bhaga mitingana. He has these different bhagas, or these opulences in full. Opulence, Aishvarya, strength, beauty, knowledge, power, renunciation, everything to the highest unlimited degree. And this is what we get to see when the Lord appears as an avatar. When the Supreme Person, the Supreme Summum Bonum, the reality, the highest absolute, manifests in this world, that's the real treat for the conditioned souls. They get to see the activities unlike anything they've ever seen before on the face of the history of this earth. And Krishna comes down and he appears just like an ordinary human being. We can think of Lord Ram. And he reveals such wonderful, incredible pastimes that actually humble us to accept that, yes, my life is not so great. I cannot imitate the activities of the Supreme. And Krishna says, this is actually why I come. Right? In the Adi Lila, Krishna explains his reasons for coming. Why? Simply to attract the conditioned souls back to him. This is why he's coming again and again. This is the proof of the Lord's compassion. As people think, well, was Krishna's up in the spiritual world, does he really have that compassion? Is he really concerned about us? Yes. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever there's a decline, I personally come. We reestablish religion. And what is that religion? To attract people back to me. A little reminder. So this is the wonderful gift that Bhagavatam presents, is these descriptions of the Lord's inconceivable activities, pastimes. But of course, there are foolish people who they kind of they mess it up. They misunderstand. Krishna says, Avajananti mamuda manushim tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. This is the brilliance and the great benediction of the personalism, the personal path. That yes, the Supreme Lord is a supreme person. He comes and engages in beautiful activities, and we have a personal relationship with him. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Without personalism, one can't really get taste in their spiritual practice. Sometimes you meet people who they're doing their yoga or their jnana, whatever they're doing, without an actual compression of God, who God is and what he's like, they're not really tasting the mercy, the rasa, the juice in their spiritual life. It's kind of a dry, it's like, yeah, we have to We have to go to church. Come on, kids, get up. You got to go to church now. It's time to worship God. Or whatever. You have to go to Hebrew school and learn those characters so you can recite them. That will be your proof that you're a good person in our tradition. You have to bow down now and pray because the prayer call is going on. There's not really the inner desire that drives so much. When you hear about Krishna, wow. I want to go and play with Krishna. Let me chant my rounds nicely because I have that aspiration, I have that goal, the desire. And that's ultimately the essence of perfection, or the means rather, is to develop this intense desire to be in one's relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada says, this is the price for the highest perfection. Actually, the tears, the crying, that I'll be reinstated. Prabhupada says, this is the tears are the price for the highest perfection. The tears that I want to understand my relationship with Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. And Krishna will reciprocate with us in an infinitely superior degree than our bittersweet experience in the material world. Our relationships with friends or lovers, or parents, they're always they are incomplete. They're always falling a little short. So this is the Vedic system, and Prabhupada is concluding the purport by saying that simple living and high thinking civilization, in order to progress to this level, has to be organized in such a way that people can have the time to hear and chant about Krishna. And in a modern civilization, a hellish civilization, then people are so busy just to take care of necessities, they don't have time to chant or read or hear. And we see that even in the modern day, even in ISKCON, we have to work in this material society, this Ugra Karma society, then it becomes very difficult. People see as soon as they leave the temple sometimes people join, they spend some time in the ashram. As soon as they go out, they just say, oh my God, wow. They just get hit. It's like hit by a big truck, because this material world and the way it's operated is just totally opposed, more or less, to a spiritual practice. And that is the demoniac nature, to simply acquire more. And those are the exact opposite qualities of what's being mentioned here, of the Brahmins. And the Brahmins are, by their spiritual practice, they're able to cultivate these qualities. The Brahmin is he who's, or she who's developed the qualities, the divine qualities. We hear about the divine and demoniac natures. So these are the divine qualities. And these facilitate depth in one's devotional practice. As long as one is still in a semblance of devotion, then they can't actually experience that rasa, or that taste that we were describing, because the consciousness is still contaminated. So this is our, the practical point, to really cultivate and culture the divine qualities, because that allows the soul to perceive its divine nature and to also perceive the divine nature of Krishna. Otherwise, it's like having a covering or dark glasses on. The consciousness is not pure. It's still muddied. So if consciousness is not pure, then we can't understand the absolute truth. This param satyam, or shuddha sattva. Krishna is shuddha sattva. All his activities are of that quality. So if we're unable to perceive that, then we're still not getting the taste in the hearing and chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping. the activities that we're doing, they're all absolutely divine. They're so powerful. The Acharyas mentioned that simply by executing one of these 5 topmost activities, one can awaken the perfection, actually, perfectional stage of bhava, emotion, spiritual emotion. So worshipping the deity. This is not different from worshipping Krishna directly in the spirit. The same activities are going on here. Serving, offering bhoga, dressing, directly worshipping. It's the same activity, but when the consciousness is covered, it seems like a ritual. It's a practice. When consciousness is uncovered, then one is actually directly in that activity in the spiritual world. Similarly, chanting the holy name. When the purification is not there, it becomes it's an austerity. I've got to focus my mind. But actually chanting God's name, it's an eternal activity. The holy name is actually eternal. And when it's chanted without offense, then one is actually in realization of the absolute truth. Also hearing about the activities of the Lord, that's what goes on in the spiritual world. They come together and say, oh my God, did you hear about Krishna today? The gopis say, oh my God, did you hear about Krishna? Krishna went out to the pasturing ground, he was wearing this and that. And their hearts are just being churned with that remembrance because they have a personal relationship. And the cowherd ladies, they're saying, oh Krishna, did you see, they're, you know, sometimes women they're very talkative. They want to get in touch and socialize very much, perhaps just more than the men. But that has an origin in the spiritual world. They're just talking about Krishna. Oh my God, Krishna was so adorable. He was wearing his peacock feather on this hand, and he had the blue lotus here. And I got to tie his waist, his belt, just like that. Same thing in what we do here. We'd hear about Krishna's passing, but it's the difference of effect because of the consciousness. So these are the qualities that are there, required to be there for, as it's mentioned here, to qualified position. Free from envy. Free from envy is from realizing that the soul is very insignificant, and actually the souls are equal. We are all an insignificant part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So in the material concept of life, we become envious because someone has something more or greater than us. But spiritually, actually, the souls are equal. One soul may be endowed by Krishna with a particular opulence or service. But there's no envy because I'm an insignificant part of Krishna, and every other jivatma is also a fragmental spiritual portion. So the Ishopanishad says, Tatra komo kashoka ekatvam anupashata. One who sees this oneness, what can be illusion or lamentation for that person? There's also nice verse, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmani eva anupashati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. One who sees every living being as a part and parcel of Krishna can never hate anyone or anything. How can you have hatred or envy to someone if you see that this is a part of Krishna? Everything in existence is Krishna. So it's interesting. It does not hate anyone or anything. I always find that helpful because sometimes we're quite foolish in Kali. We get angry at things. Like, what is wrong with this remote control? It's nonsense. Or your car. If the car stops, car, what's wrong with you? Or technology, the internet, the computer. This last night I was writing an email, it didn't save. I was like, Gmail, like, what's your problem? So incompetent. But he doesn't hate anything or anyone. Yes, even Gmail. It's an expansion of Krishna's energy. So I don't become upset at anyone. And also anything. Why waste our time getting upset at things? We see this as Krishna's energy in a different form. So this is the spiritual conception. Untruthfulness. It's explained that the Supreme is the Param Satyam, Supreme Absolute Truth. in the Bhagavatam mentions one cannot achieve the absolute truth unless one is completely truthful, for the pure in heart. So without practicing truthfulness, how can one achieve the supreme truth? So this is a difficult one, but our Shastra mentions over and over again. And the qualities of the Brahmins, the main quality is this truthfulness. To not distort the picture of reality so that I look better than I am. It's very challenging. There's some difficult situation, someone is pointing out some of my flaws or shortcomings, I'm going to just arrange it or speak it in such a way that, oh, okay, I'm safe, I'm good, no one's going to find out. No, this is an aberration of reality. It's deception, it's deceitfulness, and it's ultimately it's a disservice to ourselves. We're only hurting ourselves. Because unless one is truthful, one cannot attain the absolute truth. So therefore, truth is to present things as they are. Yes, I was late. It's my fault. Not so easy. But this is the qualification of the Brahmin. Because he doesn't have to worry about his reputation or anything. His service in life is to satisfy Krishna. If Krishna is pleased by truthfulness, and by being truthful, Krishna will be pleased, then what does anything else matter? Why does it matter how I look to the eyes of others? That we should aspire. Unnecessary pride, all these things are disqualifications. They disqualify one from being able to properly glorify and worship the Lord. And they also disqualify one from, as it's mentioned here, giving blessings. Which means that the purity of heart is not sufficient enough to do good for others. We want to do good for everyone in this world. In other words, theoretically, we want to bless everyone. Unless we become pure, then how can we impart? And the real blessing, the real offering that we're giving is the chanting of Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. If we cannot pray purely, if we cannot chant purely, then the blessings that we can offer in terms of that giving that mantra to others are incomplete. So these qualities are required to allow us to actually understand what is the great power of bhakti, devotional process, and in that way we can endeavor to satisfy the previous acharyas, the spiritual masters, and our guru, to become an instrument. Without developing the purity, then we cannot actually execute their order. Right? More important than what we're doing is really how it's being done. And they want to see us come to that standard of purity. So I'll pause here for now. It's about 8:30. I'm sorry if it went a few minutes late. If anyone has a question or comment, I can try to serve.
Hare Krishna, Acharya Nishra Prabhu, thank you for your class. This is a side comment. You brought up a point. One of your last points was mentioned. Devotees are free from envy, something to the effect because they see everything. They can never hate anyone because they see everyone as a part and parcel of Krishna. So we see that that in the scriptures, devotees are free of envy because they see themselves as jivas. Demons are full of envy because they see themselves as divas. That's a side note. But my original question is kind of related to a point that I brought up yesterday, and some of the words that Prabhupada mentions in the purport many times is qualities and qualifications. And I'm not sure if you've seen it before you were Krishna conscious. I'm not sure if you've seen shows like Survivor, Fear Factor, Amazing Race.
Maybe.
Well, we see in those shows that the longer somebody is able to tolerate and endure some difficult tasks, then they're glorified. And we see that the great saints, the quality of their character is such is that they're able to endure so many things. And we see products. Products are attractive because they endure for long, and they're unattractive when they don't endure. So we see the great saints The quality of the character never broke down despite being crucified like Jesus or beaten 22 marketplaces like Haridas Thakur. So my question is related to one other pastime is that we see in chapter 89 of Christian book, there's a pastime where Bhrigu Muni wanted to test the quality of the three guna avatars. He ignored Brahma.
Right. I recall the pastime.
Well, nobody else.
I think probably most people, because it's one of your favorites and you share it a lot.
Yeah, but I'll share it again because these things need to be repeated. That's why I repeat them all the time. So Bhrigu Muni ignored Brahma, and he became irritated. Just like when people ignore us, we become irritated. Then he tested the quality of Shiva. He insulted Shiva. When we're insulting, we become very disrespectful. And then he did the most disrespectful thing of all. He kicked Vishnu. And Vishnu did something we wouldn't do. He started to glorify Bhrigu Muni. So in the scriptures, we hear that we should follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, like follow this example of Vishnu. So when Vishnu glorified Bhrigu Muni, despite being kicked, Bhrigu Muni started to glorify Vishnu, and tears were brought to his eyes. And so we hear in the scriptures that we should follow the steps of the acharyas. And the tendency is that when we hear examples like this where Vishnu was glorified, sometimes we're like, oh, if I follow Vishnu's example, if I respect those who don't respect me, then people should glorify me. That's going to be the result. And so we hear so many examples where Krishna says, like for example, in chapter 4, verse 9, he says, if you know the truth of me, then you'll go back to Godhead. That's a result. And sometimes Krishna says, don't be attached to the results. So when we hear these pastimes, what are some steps we can move forward? You know, because it seems like Krishna's always making contradictions. You know, be attached to results, don't be attached to results. So when we follow in the footsteps of these great personalities,
well,
then,
devotional service is described as ahoitukiya pratiyata, without motivation. So the motivation in doing devotion is not that I'm going to get some type of result, actually. The real satisfaction comes just by being engaged in the Lord's service. That itself is the result. Yeah, we have to be careful as devotees. We're doing our devotional practice because we want to get something. Prabhupada would give the example that sannyasis, one may think that by becoming sannyas, he can get all the Mahaprasad. We don't see that so often these days, but that is a conditional devotional service, motivated. That is like a cancer in our devotional service, like we're thinking, oh, I'll do this so I can get this done with. We have to be very discriminating, careful that our devotional activities don't become materially motivated. And for things like direct devotional activities, we don't want to think of, I'm going to get something from this, like even some remuneration. Sometimes people do kirtan because they're going to get paid. But what does that do? It creates a block in their ability to do that service. And their chanting, it may be motivated in different ways. So the unmotivated, uninterrupted service is what we should aspire for. That will give that tushti, or that taste, satisfaction. Is that okay? I'm going to have to stop here. Thank you all so very much. We can talk later. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Nithai Gaur Premanand.